Meow! Huples Cat, just going to go for a walk on the last day of our trip to the Hot Dogs Festival. Kitty did something very strange for her. What did you do, Kitty?
I bought new shoes.
When was the last time you bought new shoes?
4 years ago, 5 years ago.
Yeah, so her new running shoes. So Kitty's going to actually run that way towards Ashbridge's Bay and Scarborough Bluffs, and I'm going to walk that way because I'm still not running because I don't think it's healthy for me because I'm too fat. Anyway, let's see what we see on the run. But Kitty is about to leave me and take her own path. There you go. Zoom zoom. The first stop on our trip is Greenwood Park. This is at Alton and Dundas. It's the south part of the park. And this being Toronto, they have built it for the dogs. Dogs are our new children. Isn't this cute? Beautiful. Lovely. So I just started my journey, so on the way back I'm going to come here. And I'm going to go over there and see what's over there, but for now I'm going to go east and see what we see over here. It's about 14 centigrade, it feels quite pleasant, the sun's quite bright, so hence the t-shirt. So increasingly they're making the bike path separate from the road, which is a great idea. Interesting to see what they do when it snows though. And there's lots of indications now about distance if you're on a bike. So I know I want to go not quite to Woodbine, and then I'm going to turn right and go down to the lakeshore. And then eventually pass Woodbine, so I know I'm probably about 5 minutes away from my right turn. So I'm just about at Coxwell and Dundas Sea, so I'm going to take Rhodes Avenue south down to the lakeshore. I suspect Rhodes Avenue is a much calmer and nicer way to walk to the lakeshore than Coxwell is. And the other reason I came here is because of this. This is the lighthouse. It's an old gospel house, still being used I believe, and it's well over 100 years old, which is very ancient for Toronto. 1923. That would be one of the original style houses here, and that's the new modernist architecture, just a square block. And these will be our contribution to the architecture of the area. A sedated population is a happy population. So this is Eastern and Lower Coxwell, pretty busy, but it's going to get a lot less busy as I progress my journey from this point. Over there is the CN Town and Downtown, and behind me is Woodbine Park, and I'm going to go through Woodbine Park get to the Broadwalk and hopefully get a bit of peace and quiet. Well, this is what I found. So I think what I'll do is I'll keep going towards the lakeshore. Well, there you go. This is here now. This is all wild area, and none of these buildings were here, and they flogged off large parts of this for development, much to the harm of the area. And they've tried to make parts of it rewilded, but of course it has to be human accessible. The swamps are back. Even in a large human city, if you do create some areas where people can't get to, wildlife will find a way. The sad thing is that we're leaving very little space for wildlife and we're polluting it. I've arrived at my destination. I think I better run across the road quickly. It would be a good place to hire the bike because you're going to be off-road. But whenever you see these in the city of Toronto, be aware that on the other side of it, there's an OK map. So that's where we are today. I came along Dundas and I went down Rhodes and then through that park and I ended up here. So this is Ashbridge's Bay, so what I'm going to do from here is go in and bear right and go around the bay, and then I'm going to go that way. So right now I'm actually standing on the Waterfront Trail, and I have cycled from Toronto to Niagara on the lake before using this trail. It's about 140 kilometers, almost 100 miles, and it's quite pretty. It was beautiful to do it. I think the theory is in the end it'll go all the way to Kingston, if it doesn't already. Well, I'm starting to get a little bit of peace and quiet, but it's by no means silent. I will be happy on Saturday to go back to my forest and just hear the wind and the birds and the angry beaver. With remarkable intelligence, this area is called the Broadwalk. Killer squirrel. This is Ashbridge's Bay Marina. Everybody's waiting for the water to get a little bit more warm before they all go out. It's still pretty cold, though the lake didn't freeze this year much. And you can see how timid the wildlife is. You can see how close I am to downtown Toronto. And that's Lake Ontario, one of the 5 Great Lakes of the world, all entirely fresh water and polluted water at that. Clear day, you can see Rochester over there, and I can see it. So this is Ashbridge's Bay, and this is the beach. Pretty nice beach. Very, very crowded in July and August, but there you go. So one thing people don't think about big lakes like this is actual tidal effect from the moon. So you can kind of figure out when the tides are maximal and minimal, even on a lake. And if there's rip currents on the lake, you want to avoid swimming the hour before and the hour after high tide and low tide. But that's what you do if you get caught in a rip current. Don't fight to try and get back to the beach. Let it push you out and then keep going left or right until you can actually get out of the current and then can get help and come back. You can go a long, long way in a rip current. Everywhere I look, I see hordes and hordes and hordes of disappointed Torontonians waiting for the lake to get solid again so they can enjoy it. And we've even got the police out there to make sure they don't riot, because there's nothing worse than a lake that's water, not ice, for a Torontonian. Can't believe that the water's actually liquid and not solid. How disappointing. How much do Torontonians love their little doggy dogs? Well, this is actually an off-leash area for dogs, right by the lake, right by the beach. People take the dogs in there, and the dogs can run around and jump in the water. To be honest, it's a bit cold for swimming for anybody. So I was saying earlier, the Lakefront Trail is actually the Great Lakefront Trail now, and it actually goes an awful long way around a whole lot of things. So that's Toronto, and I actually cycled all the way around there to Niagara-on-the-Lake, which is about there. And now I see it actually goes to Niagara Falls. It didn't when I did it. What's with all of these sticks sticking in the sand, you may be wondering? Well, this is a public court. What you do is you put up your beach volleyball net that you bring, and you play beach volleyball. This has been renovated. Good that it's been renovated. Some history. It was made in 1965, so it's ancient by Torontonian standards. And a lot of our Olympic people actually based out of here. You can see why. When the water's not snow, it's actually a great place to row and swim. May through October. It's May 1st, so I get to use this toilet for the first time this season. I wonder how much these cost. They have a nice view. So as I recall it, there was no actual beach here. And to get to this part, I had to actually go across these rocks. And it was quite adventurous. Arrived at my destination. This is a treatment plant for sewerage. And it's very old, and it's Art Deco, built during the Great Depression. And apparently it's absolutely stunningly gorgeous inside. And it's actually a bit of a tourist attraction. Probably can't see inside, but all the water treatment stuff's there. This is actually an active water treatment plant. Quite see why this is a tourist attraction. Wouldn't mind going someday. It's the top. This is where this part of Toronto's water comes in and goes into huge underground pits. Starts to settle and get sorted before entering the treatment plant and then dropping several layers before it's released into Lake Ontario. Poop water. Kitty's just called me. She's been out for 2 hours, so I've been out for 2 hours, so I'm going to head back. I've had a great walk so far. Wonderful. Quite stunningly, they actually have even more of a dog area for dogs to run around on the beach on. Well, that would have been fun. A 1/4-mile long roller coaster ride. Pretty exciting. So I've been walking over 3 hours and I'm back at Greenwood Park, and as I promised, I'm going to have a look at what that building was. Didn't exactly expect this building to be here. It's usually associated with rural Ontario. It is in fact a hockey arena. Leafs forever. Oh well. The rubber mats. What I'm guessing is they actually have change areas here, and there's an ice rink, and they go around there in the winter. So when you go exploring, you go off the beaten path, you find all sorts of very strange things, many of which can be inspiring. For example, goodbye from me, toodles. This has been a 2024 little terrier eating tuna on Easter Sunday production.